At lunch, I was talking to my friend who has a pet holding company, and literally they fired someone, they came back in, logged back in, and started like trying to save a bunch of files or forwarding information, right? And they're going after them.
Yeah.
And this inevitably, if you're running a business, this will happen to you. Like there's going to be moments like this. How have you dealt with them? Because I feel like you deal with situations with such grace. So, yeah.
That's good. It's just years of trial and error.
Yeah.
Well, in those situations, one thing is that while I'm always having that conversation with somebody, the tech person is going behind the scenes and deleting everything.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't take chances there because my job is to protect the company. And I have seen enough people who seem really level-headed do some weird stuff after. So I always remove access before the conversation's even done. How do you handle those situations? I think that what a lot of people do, and I actually have a friend that I was just talking to is dealing with a situation similar, that somebody really like did something shady, right? Mm-hmm. They're typically doing that because they feel wronged by the company.
Totally.
Sometimes that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
It was crappy.
Yep.
You mishired them. You probably led them on. And then you probably had a pretty terrible conversation on the way out because a lot of people aren't really great at those conversations and they don't practice them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would make sense that somebody would act like a complete asshole on the way out. Like, I think that that's like warranted. And I think there should be a lot to look at in terms of like, if you're a founder and that happens to you, what do you have to learn? How could you have handled it better to mitigate that kind of behavior? Because I think when I was, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when I was inexperienced in running the company, that happened way more frequently.
Right.
Because I thought that I was doing my absolute best, but I was not doing what was required. It was a stretch for me, but it still wasn't good enough to have people gracefully leave the company.
Got it.
At the same time, there are instances where I do absolutely everything, I feel like, beyond what could be done, and it still happens. And in those situations, all I'm thinking about is, what are my actions telling the rest of the team? That is all I think through, is like, how can I use this as an opportunity to reinforce our values and reinforce who I am as a leader? And I have had instances, and not so far in the past, where I have had to let people go. And really, it's just like, I've only had to let go of 2 people in this company. And it might have been misunderstood. And then they may have done something really crappy after. And I was angry that they did something really crappy after. People knew about it. It was kind of embarrassing. But I was like, okay, what does it say about me to then retaliate? Because what happens when one person does something and the next, it escalates retaliation. You just keep going.
Right.
I just opt out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I will do nothing. I will protect the company. I will do whatever's in the best interest of the company. I will not retaliate at them. They are angry. They are emotional. I understand that. I'm going to give them grace, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to protect the company. Yeah. I rarely try to do anything to make them feel bad. I know that they're probably humiliated, and people do weird stuff when they're humiliated. Mm-hmm. They're probably worried because sometimes they can't pay for their family. They might have a new baby. Like, there's so many circumstances that it's like, if you understand those circumstances, you're like, would I do that? No. But do I understand why they may have thought that that was the right thing to do or something to do? Yeah. And so I'm just constantly thinking of how I can teach my team through my actions, how we behave. And so sincere candor, unimpeachable character, does that look like a founder who, fights back or publicly disgraces or, tries to make someone's life worse? No.
Yeah. Look, my stance, and I totally agree with you. My stance is it's not worth going after them. And, you're going to spend, could be $50, $100 plus $1,000 on legal fees, right? And then the headspace it takes, it's just like, no, like to your point, focus on the company, right?
Well, and here's the thing. Do we want to make them feel bad so that hopefully we feel better, which doesn't work? Or do we want them to learn from their mistake? Like, seldom is it that when you fight with somebody, they learn from you fighting with them. I would rather let them be, and then like eventually when they're ready, they'll probably say something, and then they'll have learned from their mistake.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that you treating them with grace teaches them more than you fighting back.
Yeah. Look, I think you can only do what you think is right. And so this situation, the mindful transition is, look, we might give you 2-3 months and we'll help you find something else. And like, we'll be a good reference for you. And if something bad happens, it happens, right? So that's what I've learned from it.